All right, today we're going to be taking a look at the Plantronics RIG 800 HDs. So Plantronics and Dolby Atmos teamed up to make these headphones, and Plantronics reached out to me to see if I would be interested in a review sample if I wanted to make a video on them. And at first I wasn't that interested because most gaming headsets traditionally haven't been that good or haven't been that good for the money. And I've always used, or at least for like the last 5 years, I've used these Beyerdynamic DT770s for pretty much all of my headphone needs, and I think they're pretty much the best headphones you can get for under 200 bucks. But the RIG 800 HD comes in at 150 bucks, and everything I looked up on them looked really, really impressive. So I said, sure, I would love to check them out. I like being proven wrong when I have a misconception or a preconception about something, so I would love to find a gaming headset that's actually good for a reasonable price. And of course, you're welcome to take my opinion with a grain of salt because this is a sample copy, but I really, really like this headset a lot. And I'm going to tell you why, and then if you watch to the end of the video, you have the opportunity to win a RIG 400, which is pretty much the wired version of this, and everything else is more or less the same. So the RIG 800 HD is a stereo headset, so it does support like Dolby Atmos and surround sound, but that's using software. This isn't one of like the older gaming headsets where they try to fit a whole bunch of drivers into the ear cups, which is good because those were never really that good at simulating surround sound, and that's not the best way to do it. So obviously no surround headphones are ever going to replicate a proper surround sound system, but simulated surround sound has started to get a lot better. And Dolby Atmos support for headphones, or Dolby Headphone as they call it, is a program that pretty much simulates object-based surround sound. So if you're not familiar with Atmos, you know, conventional surround channels, you have like, say this is your TV, and then you got, you know, left, right, you got your subwoofer, and then you have rear left, rear right, and then maybe if you've got any of a center channel, then you might have like 7.1, so you've got like your side channels and your back channels. So Atmos gives you height channels, so you have 2 or 4 channels up top. And instead of having specific things that just come out of each channel, Atmos is object-based. So your sound processor has to do some of this work for you, but you have an object in 3D space that makes noise, and depending on where it is and depending on your Atmos setup, that determines what sounds come out of what channels. And with these headsets, or any other headset that you want to use Dolby Headphone with, it's going to simulate that on a stereo headset. So you could actually do it with the Beyerdynamics or with any other stereo headset you want. But this headset was developed in partnership with Dolby and Plantronics, and so in theory they are like well suited for each other. So we'll talk about how it sounds in a minute, but first let's start with the headset itself. So it's plastic construction, it's pretty twisty, pretty bendy, it's got a flip down mic, it's very light, like just holding them together in my hands, there's not really an appreciable difference. These ones are a little bit heavier, but that makes sense because they have wireless technology and they have a battery and everything else. And then the drivers in these are a little bit bigger. So these are super light headphones by any stretch of the imagination, but I've always thought they were comfortable. And these ones are very comfortable as well. So when I first got them, I thought they were too tight, but the ear cups pop out. They were in the middle position, and I moved them down. So you just pop them out and then pop them back in where you want them. And then, of course, this is normal stretchy band on top. And now they are very comfortable. I can wear them for 4 or 5 hours at a time and not notice any discomfort. And for me, that is pretty rare. That's another reason I love these headphones, is because I've been using these for 5 years and I can wear them 8 or 9 hours at a time, and I think they're really comfortable. And I don't normally think that about headphones. So these ones work well with big heads. I got a big head. They're comfy. And no real complaints about that. Like, my ears don't get sweaty, the pads haven't gotten stinky, they don't hold sweat or anything. Not that I've got like a super sweaty head, or at least I don't think I do. But this does a good job of staying comfortable and not too hot. So other stuff about them, you can take the band out, just do that, pretty easy. The mic kind of snaps into position up here. When you flip it down, it's unmuted. Flip it up, it's muted. That's pretty nice. The mic itself doesn't sound that great. I'm going to throw in a sound clip of what the mic sounds like here. Here's what the RIG's microphone sounds like. The sound isolation is fine, and no one on Teamspeak reported any problems hearing me, but the sound is thin and a little bit dull. And then the mic I used to use with my Beyerdynamics is an Antline mod mic, so just by comparison of what like a clip-on mic you might get to use with a regular headset sounds like, here's an example. And this is the Antline mod mic running into the microphone input on my onboard sound card, which is how most people are most likely to be using it. Now you can hear it sounds a little bit better, but it's also a $40 to $50 mic depending on which generation you get. So yeah, the mic on these isn't amazing, but you know, it's way better than anything that comes with like a PS4 or an Xbox One, and it's better than most of the other headsets you can get because most gaming headsets just don't have amazing mics. So it's not like a knock on this headset, but if you're picky about your mic quality like I am, like I use this Audio-Technica 875R, then this mic is probably not going to be what you want, but then you probably know that going in, and it's no big deal. So setup was extremely easy. It comes with a USB dongle that plugs into the computer. So by the time I plugged it in and then sat down and picked the headset up, it was installed and ready to go, like incredibly fast. And it's been flawless. So I'm very skeptical when it comes to wireless stuff, and I am not usually on board with lots of new wireless technology, mostly because cords tend to work better. And I like hopping on technologies when they're relatively mature a lot of the time. I don't like fussing around with like problematic Bluetooth and stuff. So the few wireless things I use because they work 99.9% of the time and the quality difference is negligible. And I can say that about these. Honestly, I'm extremely impressed with how good the wireless is on these. Same thing with the battery life. They claim 24-hour battery life. I haven't actually done like a battery burn down test, but I charged them at the end of last week, and I've been using them for a full week, and it still reports high battery when I plug it in. By my estimation, I've gamed at least 15 or 16 hours with them, and they are doing just fine. So I imagine the battery life would be a little bit lower if you're like running the volume up really high. You know, I normally play with it half to 2/3, so it's possible you could probably run the batteries down before then, but I'm very impressed with the battery life. Like if you're if you're playing 12 hours of Overwatch a day, maybe this will get a little bit old if you have to recharge it every couple days, but I don't know. That doesn't seem to bother me. It doesn't charge exceptionally quick. It seems to take 3 hours per 30 minutes of charge, or no, 30 minutes to charge 3 hours of playtime, I think is what they say. But you pretty much, you throw it on and it charges overnight and then it's fine. So, you know, for a week, I don't really have any issues with that. So I haven't talked about sound quality yet. I'm just running over other stuff with the headset. You can switch different EQ modes. I leave it in the main EQ mode, but you can accentuate midtones or bass or other stuff if you want to. I don't generally like to mess with the sound reproduction on anything that much, so I leave it as is. And then you got your volume, power, and then if you're mixing in comms, you can adjust the ratio between them. But I use Teamspeak for that, so I just leave that all the way down. So let's talk about sound. So we'll talk about Atmos itself in a minute, but the overall sound on these for playing games is pretty good. So again, it's not really a fair comparison to comparing with these because these are $180 MSRP and are widely regarded as one of the best like studio live music isolating headphones there are, at least for the under several $100 category. So it's not really a fair comparison because these are wireless and they do a whole bunch of other things. But as far as sound quality, when it comes to games, they've got a good sound stage. It's relatively wide. They don't feel like open headphones. Like they do feel like they isolate a decent amount. But the soundstage feels a little bit more like an average open headphone soundstage. So that's pretty good. The highs are a little bit thin. I think if there's a weakness, that's probably the main one. They don't sound bad at all, but they sound a little bit like cheap highs. Like they don't have a lot of breathiness or expansiveness or sense of space. And if you don't really care about audiophile stuff that much, you're probably just rolling your eyes. That's okay, don't worry about it. If you don't care about your sound quality to that degree, they sound good. The only real negative, I think, with the sound, like the highs, could be more of a preference thing. But if you run the volume up really high, the lows will come apart a little bit if you're running your volume and having a lot of like intense explosions or something. So that's a tall order for any headphones, so it's not like these are worse than average or anything, but they don't reach quite as low as these, which makes sense because these have bigger drivers, and of course they're not going to compare to a full speaker system. But the lows sound good at any respectable volume that I've played at, but just keep that in mind if you're going to crank it up. And then Atmos is a little bit of a mixed bag on PC, and it's not really the headphones' fault. So the app is very, very easy to install. When you try to turn on surround sound on these in the Windows properties, it automatically takes you to the Windows Store to download the app, so that's all easy. The headphones actually come with a prepaid activation code for Dolby headphones, which is awesome because normally that's $15. You know, it all works pretty well when you're watching like the Dolby demos that come with it. So there's like some trailers and some short films and a few things like that, like tech demo type stuff. They sound good. I mean, Atmos gives like a little bit of a sense of height. I ran the test tones video, and it didn't sound like sounds were coming from all the way around the headset. But, you know, if you had your left surround channel, then the height channel sounded like it was coming from about right here. So it's pretty good. It's a noticeable difference, but it's not, again, it's not like it's going to be fully immersive surround sound like you get with a full system, but it adds more. And for an app that costs 15 bucks, I mean, it definitely adds more than you get by spending 15 bucks more on your headset. So that's pretty good. But the main problem with Dolby headphone support is that most games don't support it yet. And that could change. But right now it's like less than 10 games on Xbox One and PC. And the only game I had on PC that would support Dolby headphone was Overwatch. And actually, I don't own Overwatch. I borrowed a friend's account to play it. But in Overwatch, using Dolby Atmos headphone support, it sounds really good. And again, here's where I come back to. I was not expecting to be as impressed by these headphones as I am, but it actually sounds impressive. So playing Overwatch, I'm not a great Overwatch player, but I'll put some clips on screen here. I actually got a much better sense of people like jumping over me and stuff flying over my head and things happening on different levels because Overwatch has a lot of verticality. And it's not like you can't get any of that with surround sound headphones or with conventional stereo headphones, because you absolutely can. But with these, it did feel more positional and more 3D. The best compliment I can give any set of headphones or speakers is that they disappear once you get used to them, and you're just left with the sound stage or the sound space that you're listening in. And playing Overwatch with these did that. And I was very, very impressed. If I was a better Overwatch player, they probably would help me up my game a little bit by having Dolby headphone support. But of course, I'm not very good, so I just had fun playing, and that was that. Now, you can also you can use these with the Dolby headphone app to have 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound in any other games that support it. And most games support surround sound in some form or another. So I played a bunch of other games just in conventional surround, and they also sounded very nice. So my last real set of surround headphones was probably in college. It would have been like 2009, and they were some Tritons, and they sounded like garbage. They had multiple drivers. I tried Turtle Beach. I tried a bunch of others. Like, I just think all the multiple driver surround sound gaming headphones have sounded like trash. There have been other like popular gaming headset makers. One of them rhymes with Hasbro. You probably know who I'm talking about. And I've always thought theirs were kind of trash, especially for the money you paid. These ones are not trash. These ones sound good. With surround sound, I actually really enjoyed playing the games with these over playing them in conventional stereo with this. Now, I could turn on Dolby headphone and use these as well. So I don't want to make it sound like you can only use Dolby headphones with these and you can't with these. You can use them with these. But they work really well with this, and I do think these are tuned a little bit with their sound signature to be better for gaming, which is normal for a lot of gaming headsets, but the trick is doing that while still making them sound a little bit natural and a little bit lifelike, and I think Plantronics got it. Like, I honestly, this is good. I know I keep saying this is good, and of course, this is a sample that they sent to me, so you are free to doubt my opinion as much as you want, but I am picky about sound stuff. If there's anything I will spend extra money on and try 5 versions of and tell you not to buy, it's something related to sound. So I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't think these were at least respectable, and I have quite enjoyed them. Now, listening to music, these won't sound as good as these. And anybody who's familiar with DT770s is not surprised by that. But again, that's okay. These are like 150 bucks. These are 180 bucks. These aren't wireless. These don't have a mic. These don't have any of those other features. So the high end on these, as I mentioned before in the gaming section, high end is a little thin. You don't really get the sense of space out of some of the vocals that you normally would. They just sound a little bit thinner, a little bit like conventional earbuds. And then, of course, the low end doesn't reach down that far. Mid-range is fine. They're warm, if a little bit neutral, which I like for casual music listening. And I would say these are good enough that when I'm done gaming for the night and I want to just wind down and listen to some music or do a little work on my computer before going to bed, I'll just leave these on and keep listening to music. And that is a compliment to them, because normally, if I'm using any other headset for any other reason, I immediately want to switch back to my 770s as soon as I'm doing any sort of critical sound listening. And these are not as accurate, and they aren't quite as good to listen to music on as the 770s, but they are good enough, and they are close enough that I like listening to music on them. And again, I know we don't talk about this in a lot of my videos because most of my videos have nothing to do with sound, but I am picky about sound, and I have enjoyed these. So, in conclusion, if these were, you know, like the other headphone manufacturer whose name rhymes with Hasbro, if these cost as much as those, you know, I probably wouldn't get a set. hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a gaming headset, you know, at that point you really should just get a nice set of closed cans or open cans and get your own mic and add on to them, and most of the time you'll have a better experience. But for about 150 bucks, and that depends a little bit, like these are the version that work with PC, you can get ones that work with Xbox and PC, you can get ones that work with PS4, so the price goes up and down a little bit depending on what you want. And of course there's the 400 model, which comes in around 100 bucks. But for 100 to 150 bucks, these are probably the best sounding gaming cans that I've ever used. And I haven't used thousands of them, so it's possible there's something better out there, but if there is, I haven't personally listened to it. And I would go so far as to say I have started gaming almost exclusively with these, using my normal Audio-Technica mic, and I only use the Bayers for all my other stuff. So time at my computer now is probably split 50-50 gaming and working on other things. So I'm splitting my time between these two pairs of headphones, and I actually like gaming with these more than I like gaming with these. So check them out for yourself. I've enjoyed them. Thank you to Plantronics and Dolby for giving me a pair to try out. I really appreciate that. And if you guys want to win a pair of Plantronics 400LX headphones, go into the description of this video. You'll see some links to where you can buy the 800 HDs. You can enter a competition or a giveaway to win the 400LXs, and you can see some other links to other things Dolby and Plantronics related, and of course to my channel. So thank you everybody for coming out and giving the video a watch, and I'll see you next time.